What is up, you savages? This is the Protect Your Neck podcast, and I'm your host, Dan Tom. Analyst is work you can find over at MMAJunkie.com, but on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA. That's what we're going to do here today, tonight. Whenever you're listening to this, it will be after the fight, because this is a recap show. We're going to be recapping UFC Vegas 30, briefly touching on maybe some PFL, Bellator 261. We'll see. You know me. It tends to be UFC centric because that's mainly my beat. Didn't do a write up for Bellator or UFC. Technically was a week off, but gonna be here for you guys nonetheless. And so that's what it's gonna be here for this show. And we're gonna be hitting you with some top 5 shows later. So if you're listening on YouTube, the audio version of this, thank you for the like, thank you for the subscribe, Daniel Tom MMA. And appreciate you guys, especially because it's audio version and you don't get like the cool Jeremiah was a bullfrog intro that we just got on the Apple Podcast version. Shouts to you guys as well. The 5-star ratings and reviews over at Apple Podcasts help. And Dan, why aren't you taking the off week that you took off, or why aren't you getting some of the stuff done that you always promise this show? From graphic thumbnails to audio quality. Adjustments. I'm trying something new here a little bit, so hopefully this one sounds okay, but it's more with the guest is the issue. Or so on and so forth, the Stitcher, SoundCloud, that's been on, for years now. I was also doing the math for the goal of trying to hit 300 episodes by our 5-year anniversary and realized that even if I do a triple this week and one episode every week, like I normally do anyways on this show, I'll still come like 6 or 7 short, so I'm going to have to be packing in where I can. So since we have a week off, I know a lot of people like to say 2 weeks, which I don't get, especially if you work in the space, because you damn well know that we're having to work like from the week before, or at least during the week at the very least, depending on what your beat and what your procrastination levels are. So it really is only a week, and even if you're not working in the space, you are being inundated, especially on a McGregor fight week, which is almost as if the organization is acknowledging that they oversaturate the shit out of us and conveniently book Mr. McGregor when they do have, when it's convenient to get that extra pub and push from all the publications from top to bottom that, seem to be steering the right in their direction. So anyways, these week off, not 2 weeks, sorry, a little tangent there, but a week off is a good thing. And as per usual, we don't get enough of them, and with everything going on, it's been hard to be full speed ahead on this one-man show. That is supported by you guys. I appreciate it. I'm not financially supported. This is a free show, and it will remain free. But, just the support from listening, gosh forbid sharing, doing the likes, DMing me, just saying you appreciate the show. That all counts as support. You don't have to be like the Showtimes from Tennessee, a man Ramundo, hitting the PayPal link, which you can, if you want to donate straight up to the show, it does go to the show. I do post what I do buy for the show and the upgrades and keep you guys up to speed there. Much appreciated. My man does not need to do that. I already owe him first round when he moseys on out this way. But appreciate you, Ramundo. And that's at mixedmartialanalyst.com, which is linked in the bios, whether you want to get at me at the social media where I'm most active, at Dan Tom MMA on Twitter. You can also do an underscore version of find me on Insta if you want to lurk there. Although I'm not a big Insta fan, and a lot of people be creeping. Or at the PYN podcast on all social platforms. We don't pollute your feed. It is supported, of course, by mixedmartialanalyst.com, where said PayPal link can be found, as well as, which I actually don't promote enough, but try to promote more than the PayPal link. I feel weird asking for things, hence a free show. But I do offer click-throughs because it's not fun shopping through corporations, especially, like Amazon or on it. But I do have those click-through banners there. I buy the plant-based protein since they no longer do hemp stuff, which bums me out from on it. But either way, if you buy stuff from there, like weights or whatever, you click through the link. It doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't give me anything. It just kicks back a percentage of your sale, no extra cost to you, to this podcast. Amazon's fun, though. It does the same thing at no extra cost to you. I know we all use Amazon, unfortunately, right? But it does list what you buy now. It won't list your name. So if you want to have your one night in Bangkok, like David Carradine, you want to get the nylon rope, the karate gi, whatever that night entails, I'm not going to tattletale on you. I will pontificate on said items and wonder what kind of individual would buy them, as I S on both the the proverbial you, and as well as myself. But no, just kidding. It won't list anything, honestly. You can buy whatever you want there through Amazon, and a small percentage goes back to this show. That's mixedmartialanalyst.com. So yeah, I'm going to get some shouts out here since we're kind of already started that flow, and we'll get to the recap. Usually I try to do these live, but again, I didn't want to go camera ready. It's not a big show. Let's squeeze it in. Let's make this happen. I was actually going to do this last night, but I got distracted by a couple things, and my gas tank just ran out. Sometimes, the old head trauma. And it's like Cinderella. He's like, we just hit the witching hour. I just hit a fucking wall. And I think it's because my routine was thrown off because it was an early day card, and I'm not going to hate on early day cards because so many around the world, it actually helps, and so many of you guys are troopers, and I appreciate you guys. And that's some real level fandom to mess up your sleep schedule. So far be it from me to complain. I just, even with normal stuff, with everything I have going on, I barely have time to watch the fights anyways, so it was like 10x. That being said, I actually did try to do a decent job watching it at the cost of other things throughout my day, unfortunately. So like my whole day was gone, but again, I can't complain. I know it's better for the gander, and my ass should have just woken up early because I missed the pre-show with Aaron Bronstetter, of course, my man from up north, my Jewish brother from another mother. He did his Twitter Spaces though that I jumped in on, and Aaron, I believe, is going to be on a much-deserved vacation. Man, that guy hustles. I can't imagine anybody just who alone had a family to take care of this, pandemic, which is still going on, especially if you still have kids or what parts of the world or countries you are in. So, we're very privileged if you're getting out there, good on you. I know I got out there a bit. Hey, I'm super grateful, but there's still plenty of people that are due, and my man's getting a due break. So go support the show, by the way, because, a lot of you guys are gambling degenerates and whatnot. My man Aaron, I know a lot of the journalists are doing the gambling thing, but Aaron's been hacking at it for a minute, week to week, consistently out there over with TSN Edge, and he really killed it this last week, man, and I got to give him his shouts, man. Had some darts, like some third round plays, some really good, some props, even, I forget, but yeah, he was spot on, man. So shout out to him, Bazooka Joe Valtellini over the TSN MMA show. And they're the same way. It's a free show. They just ask for like the 5-star ratings and reviews. They actually ask for less than me. So I got to give him a shout and give him some due there. Also, shout out to listener of the show. And friends that are listening to the show, which is crazy. It's like such a small world. My man Alex G, who I got to catch up with. I used to work. We used to work at the Bellagio pool. Man, there's some stories. Me and Alex. You think Dan Tom was putting it? You think I'm putting my impressions to work now? My impressions got caught on so bad at that job that the pool supervisor would write me into the rotation sheet as Christopher Walken one day, Yoda the next. 60 feet from the Padawan, you say? God damn, do you have to turn everyone into a pervert? That's the key to a good impression. So it was just, immature but ridiculously fun times. And I wanted to give Alex a shout out. Small world out here, man. And, it's so easy to, label the internet as the internet, negativeville, which a lot of it is, and this and that. But there's good peeps out there, and the internet can do some good things, man. So shout out to Alex G and the rest of his little contingent there. And I don't say that in a demeaning way; I mean in a loving way. I appreciate him. So for any of y'all listening, Southpaws at Stuff from Sam is the last shout. Gave me a shout amongst some names like WMMA Addict, who's got a great YouTube channel you should subscribe to. My man and former colleague Trent Rian Smith. Hopefully I said his name right. Trent's got his own podcast, the Come On Now, which is on the Bloody Elbow feed. Of course, you guys know that I don't believe in the stupid rivalries out there. I can say MMA fighting. I can say Bloody Elbow. I can communicate with these people on. It's fine. I can reference them when they do. It's nothing. It's okay. Yeah. Anyways. But so I just love the reaching out and the shouts and the collective. And Sam at Stuff from Sam was kind enough to include me in this very show as a recommendation with some high company that I consider. So was appreciative, man. Again, any shouts, but especially from one of my favorite podcasts, the Southpaw podcast. Of course, you guys know. means a lot. So appreciate that. Solidarity and support. Solidarity is so important, man. Being able to come together from different backgrounds, for in a similar and point in a similar direction. It's that direction is generally, you like to think, aim for good. It's good things you bring together and stuff. So it's more positive, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, man. we'll touch on that as we get to the recap. But yeah, a little more positive out there, and I like it. We need more of that. I need to focus more on that, right? Amazon reads, and I just shouted out. Okay, cool. Bellator 261 and PFL 6. Not much to say. I missed the Liz Carmouche uncharacteristic knockout. Wanted to see my man Tim Johnson. Shout out to the MMA Analysis Podcast, Timmy Big Dick. Oh, that's what I meant for the shout. MMA Analysis, they had me on, of course. Had a good time, perhaps too good a time. Probably picked the wrong show to go back to drinking on a podcast for, but hopefully I think I'm still employed, so we'll see how that goes. Either way, it was honestly it was a good time, man. Felt like I was just hanging out with the dudes, which in that sense, I probably said some very offensive things, but again, it's part of the reason why I listen to that show, is because it's fuck, man. So many, including myself, make the mistake of taking shit too seriously, and it's good to have your dessert and your laughs. And I've actually met some of those dudes in person, and good dudes, man. So hopefully, you guys that checked that out enjoyed that show, enjoyed them, because I was gonna say, if you can't enjoy their comedy, you're not gonna enjoy my comedy either, because there's a lot of crossover, for better or worse. So it was cool, man. Like I feel like the few MMA shows I listened to, I've been on like most of them, which is really weird to say that. Like, what the heck? I just like listening to these shows. What the fuck are they doing having me on? But whatever, it's fun, man. And to be honest, I think I enjoy being a guest more than a host at times. So big shouts to those guys. Apologies, I missed that on the first pass. But yeah, Bellator 261, Timmy Big Dick there. He put it on the best he could, but Moldavsky comes through. I guess that's why I picked him. But man, my heart was with Timmy, and he betters out there. I stayed away from Bellator, unlike last week, the week before, whatever, when I cashed Amosov. So like, I'll let you guys know if I do have plays, but there wasn't anything. Same with PFL. It's just so volatile. I didn't catch the Pettis loss. The Harrison win. I think the only thing I saw was that Pacheco backstep knockout. Good on her, Pacheco. So that was cool. But yeah, apologies again. Not very good with the coverage. It's just excusable this week. Although I do want to give Cage Warriors a shout, who had a very big 3-event week, and some good things for Irish MMA as well. I believe. Was listening to Sean Sheehan on the Severe MMA pod. Want to give them a shout. Again, shouting out good work. It's more people should do it. It's really this whole thing is just it's silly, man, and that's why I always try to do that. That's why you'll hear me bring up like the Sean Sheehans of the world. Like, this isn't the first time, and I do want to specifically bring him up. I probably sure I brought him up for scoring and stuff like that, which everyone knows he's great on, but. Of course, it's his side of the pond, so to speak. He had Brad Wharton on, excellent commentator, UK, and of course, Sean specializes in Irish MMA, so he does a lot of really good Cage Warrior stuff. Obviously, no surprise there. But just to remind people, if they come here for, and again, man, I'll raise my hand. I'll be the first to admit my blind spots, and as well as try to point you guys and help you guys out, because that's what this show's about, helping. And if there's something that I can't help with, I can maybe at least point you guys the directions there. So apologies for not giving Cage Warriors its due, and we'll make up for that by giving someone a shout who does give them their due. So there, like that, look at that. So we're gonna go to UFC Vegas 230. About 15 minutes in here, 14:33. We went 5-7-1 overall. 1-2, and we got bloodbath. 1-2 in props, and 1-5 in straight plays. Shouts to the Z's and the Luca Furies of the world to steal the word that the parlance of that these kids are using. And I say kids endearingly, obviously. I think Luca's older than me, probably. I don't know. But the word variance, and I do want to give those guys a shout, but the word variance. And this was I see that word being used a lot in the parlance, and no issues with it. I'm just saying, it's actually I think this is a very good card to point out where that word applies. It is, you know, it was one of those five, those for sure. And again, you know me, I'm not an after the fact excuse guy, but you know, this was a good card for that. And the good thing about doing recaps like this is like you can go fresh into it, whereas I'm usually doing my breakdown shows like at the end of the week, which means the recap is way stale, right? It's like leftovers gone bad, so I'm just trying to get through it, and I'm almost reading results at times, and you notice I never really get to talk about it, so that's another good thing about this. So so variance, a lot of that, not so much in the main event. This was, I got it wrong. I picked Volkov, and I put a unit on Volkov as well at plus money. On paper, you know, again, nothing regrettable. Doesn't look too stupid, but the question marks, a lot of those were answered with Gone. Now, you know, he hasn't fought a strong wrestler as a Blades again, so that hasn't been answered. We still have to see him, you know, against a power puncher that's more. That has more of a game and more threats, tools, etc. than Rosenstruck. So, you know, there are those there, but this was a very clean variance, had nothing to do. This was a clean loss. You know, this is a clean loss or a clean win, no matter what side you were on. Heavyweight MMA, I know, but no, this was a good fight. You know, very technical. I know Derek Lewis was out there tweeting that it was a karate point fighting match, and it could feel like that at times. But you know, just that footwork and distance management. It's not that we didn't know that Gone had it, but boy, did it even really hold it to the test with a fighter with some size parity. Now, you could argue that Volkov's footwork isn't the greatest, which it isn't, and he doesn't utilize the greatest, which he didn't, but he's still a servable threat, even in the status and the way that he fought. I don't know where like an Ed Gallo would rank it as far as you know, how he ranks performances, which I appreciate, by the way. I like the context, how he does it over there. He kind of grades how the opponent did, both in the fight, how they normally do, and whatnot. It's more extensive, but, you know, that's extensive is right up my alley when it comes to these things. And putting things in a proper context is also right up my alley. But, you know, I will defend, you know, despite not being maybe the best performance strategically and tactically, and from Volkov, I'm still impressed with what I saw from Gone. And, you know, at a certain point, you can't take away from the other person either, right? So, I'm going to have to rewatch it again. You know, it's pulled away at points, which is why, again, I haven't been posting scores. You know, again, I'm not trying to add to the misinformation. Getting on the broadcast is not that important to me. You know, I appreciate the fuck out of it, don't get me wrong, but like it's you know, it's more about putting good information. You know me, I'm weird like that. I should care more about money and publicity, and maybe I wouldn't have complaints or issues with certain things, but you know me, I'm focused on the work. Focused on the work was Tanner Boser. Didn't even do a camp, but it wasn't because he was lazy, it was because of quarantines, turnarounds, and he persevered. Owen St. Preux, who, again, I want to take away from Tanner Boser, but Vince, man, he's always been inconsistent, but this kind of run of things is really interesting. I don't know if it was Zane Simon on the 6th round pointing out, but it is true. Like up until his fight with was it Jamal? I believe he's only was like knocked out twice in his career. Really, I know he's got rocked a lot, and you know he's been on wobbly skates. But Jamal, before Jamal and Tanner, it was second round. Perfect shot, Jimmy Manawa in England, and Virgil Zwicker back in 2009, Tennessee. So that's pretty crazy, you know. So, you know, between the chin, the not throwing, the inconsistency 10x'd, because he always was inconsistent, right? Very worrisome. And yeah, I ate crap because I avoided the OSP. But I played what I thought the hedge or the chalk would be with my winnings from another total play, which did hit. We'll get to. And I went over here and it didn't, man. And you know, if someone was more likely to finish, it was OSP. So in that sense, I looked dumb. But at the same time, I don't know if I would go back and change that and be like, Bozer's the more likely one to get a finish here, because I still don't believe that's how it was on paper. And factoring in the OSP possible drop off, not taking away from Bozer, right? But these are real measurable things we just talked about, right? That are backed with statistics in context with OSP. But you couple that with, it was just this kind of a crazy like fumble. I got to go rewatch it, but I believe it was a cage grab. Herzog, who I love, you guys know is one of my favorite referees, but I missed it. But I believe he actually stopped the fighters, and it confused them. So if you have one thinking they're fighting, one thinking they're not, that really messes with the momentum of a fight. And it wasn't a cage grab, obviously, like that wasn't, on the replay or whatever. But then you got that on the commentary, which is adding a visual and another even hurdle for not for the fighters, but, the broadcast translates to the masses. So the masses are even more confused now. And then you have a knockout happen like right after. Oh, and a headbutt as well. So it's like all these things. It was so weird. And I don't want to take away from Bozer, and I'm not trying to cushion or make myself feel better. But I mean, heavyweight MMA should already come with variance alone. But again, I didn't use that excuse for the top fight because I don't believe it applied. But this fight, and granted, we could have said that with any outcome. I mean, you got OSP, who's inconsistent on his good days, and you've got Bozer making this turnaround. So we could have already said that. It was already going to be an tangible X factor fight. So maybe that was just dumb of me to play the over, but I'll be honest with you guys, I ended up laying it. And boy, ugh. That was bad. I did a for fun parlay. And I was mad because we'll get to the one that it didn't really matter your combinations because all the parlay pieces were a trap, which is why I didn't officially recommend any. But again, I'm honest, too honest perhaps, for better or worse, mainly worse, on this show and others. So, again, I'll let you guys know what I did. And I tied Barcelos to one of those, and he lost a majority decision. A draw would have been acceptable. But, and again, I got pulled away from part of round one, but it looked like Barcelos was landing the harder shots, counters. But again, like I kind of, I did correctly predict, and you guys gave love to that tweet on Twitter, but was just saying that, like, don't expect these scorecards to be all over the place because judges, again, and I've been saying this ad nauseum, and I'm not the only one, but they are alert that they can't see body punches and counters, especially short counters. And Valiev, shout out to Conor Rebush, I believe, on the Vivi. I compared Valiev to like a Jackson Wink fighter, even though he's not. But I totally agree with Conor. I totally see it. And again, this would have been like the Jackson Wink performance that just got them hard. I mean, a little more spinning stuff that didn't hit at the end of rounds, and I think that really would have, endeared the camp. But no, just kidding. Endeared Winklejohn there, but Valiev obviously doesn't train with them. But is that similar style? That single shot variance, throwing variety. Now, he was throwing hard and accurate and putting the shots together a bit faster, to his credit, right? And having to do so at times, / a lot of times, from what I remember, with lateral or back foot movement in play. So, good on Valiev, man. Not taken away from that. I just felt that the harder, more meaningful shots was done by Barcelos. And again, defense isn't rewarded and is its own reward. It's not like it is in boxing and yada yada. But goddamn, he's doing the Aldo head movement and that takedown defense. Like, come on, man, give Aldo Light some love there. So I actually had it, I think 29-27 for him because again, it wasn't. You can't listen to the commentary. You have to watch the fight. And from what I saw, and from what people I respect saw, it was a fairly close fight where you could argue Barcelos was winning, although I believe commentary was taken by the flash of Valiev and not coming at commentary. Did a good job. Of course, my man Brendan Fitz was on there. Love Brendan. And DC for the mistakes he made. He called himself out and shouted. I'm a man Sean Sheehan there, so no hate. Not hating on them, I should say. Not that I do, but I believe again that you got to be careful because they're commentating, they're not judging, folks, and they'll be the first to admit that too. But I do believe they were calling it as if Valiev was winning. So I and people I respect had Barcelos edging. So then when he does a last minute plus of knockdown and brutal damage, I went 10-8 because especially with the comparing and contrasting rounds where they could be clear enough to make an argument for a fighter, but they're close. either fighter, but they're close because you could do that. That round was not close. So I actually leaned the 10-8. You could have gone all 3 rounds. Shout out to Ryan Wagner at Ryan Wag MMA. One of the best, if not the best, analyst out there. I know he shitposts a lot, but I do like his scoring as well. Even though it can seem, strongly contrarian, it's just that a lot of people don't know the criteria, and if they do and are trying to, again, counters and other things are very hard to see by the eye. So I think Barcelo should have won, or it should have been a draw. And Valiev, he keeps hanging around. I think he's going to be a guy I'm going to lose a lot of money on because he's going to be overinflated, even though he wasn't for this fight. But, and I'm just well-rounded enough and just not... I can already tell with my own biases, I'm going to call myself out now. It's going to be a tough... You're probably not going to want to listen to me in any Timur Valiev fights going forward. Not that I wish ill of the guy, just saying. I can already know my bias here. Andre Fili, no contest with Daniel Pineda. This was tough, man. They were just... This is why it sucks to know how the sausage is made, because so many of us, it's not even just like the result. It's the fact that we just do the math and the paycheck math. Fili's only going to get half his paycheck. And so I hope the UFC was able to do something backstage for him. That would be nice. And, Pineda's just super tough, man. Fili looked really on point, sitting down on his crosses. I really like that, man. I really want to see more from him. So if he's healthy, I wouldn't mind seeing a fast turnaround. I just hate when the UFC uses that and go, oh, it's okay. I know you got gypped out of your half, but we're going to give you another fight. Yeah, that's right. You get to go put more miles in your body and risk your life in the cage. I know we should have maybe paid you more for the first time. But, so I hope it's not one of those things again. I hope they give him the turnaround and some discretionary bonus action. I'm going to be optimistic and believe they will. But, yeah, just, when you do that math, that's an extra rough thing on those. Next fight should be no surprise if you listen to this podcast or you just listen to my repeated Southpaw tweets on Twitter. Tim Means defeated Nicholas Dalby. I know I'm being sensitive, but I was joking with someone else. I'm like, God damn it! I'm like, I'm seeing like people who follow me who are friends and interact with me, like asking like his, what's the Southpaw this? What's this? Is this? And I'm like, guys, I just tweeted the Southpaw record like 2 to 3 times in my timeline. I won't shut the fuck. You don't have to listen to my podcast, and like you should know because I tweet the short of it. I tweet them in the long tweets. I re-quote, tweet, and double back to show you guys that, see, I'm fucking right. And I hate to be that person that goes, no one's talking about this, and speaking in absolutes, because I hate that shit. But who else does Southpaw stats, folks? I'll wait. I'm still waiting. Yeah, and who gets credit for those stats? Fucking seldom ever. I think I've heard him used on like a broadcast, but like I wasn't credited for him, which is fine. Like it's cool, but like it just after a while I'm like from the broadcast, and broadcasters credit me for shit that I don't deserve credit for, so I'm not coming at them because they've given me credit for shit I don't deserve credit for. So I'm not complaining, but just at them, I'm just talking about the Southpaw stats here out of principle. It's just annoying that like this is actually the one thing that I fucking do consistently and nobody else does, and these things are fucking actual contextualized stats that can be put in, like, this fight kind of proves it, although Means got hit late, and that's more of an aging thing, like an OSP factor we got to be aware of. I'll talk about that here shortly. But I was just like, yo, can we, like, what, am I that fucking annoying? Like, I feel like I cut my tweets down, try to keep them informational, but like, yeah, like your boy here fucking doing one of the only things and just cannot get credit for the Southpaw stats, so we'll see. Don't get me wrong, my man Wes Colvin at True UK Fan gave me a shout. He knew what was up. We did the analysis together, and yeah, man. Again, I told y'all, Dalby's 1-3-2 officially, but he should be 0-5-1 with that one coming to a literal one-arm fucking man. So you could say he's 0-6. Now you could say he's 0-7. Even though it's technically 1-4-2. But he's 0-7 against Southpaws. Southpaw fault line. Not just my Southpaw stats that I consistently do, but the Southpaw fault line. Nicholas Dalby is one of the key players in this strategic spider web that I've kept going and presented to you guys for your help. So if you're using it, you're cashing. And thank you for the few of you who shout it and use it. Y'all the real ones. You deserve it. So yeah, Tim Means, of course, if you guys enjoyed that Spencer Fisher tweet, shout there and working on some trilogy stuff, and Spencer Fisher will come up in that as well. But him and Tim Means fight, that was classic with some classic commentary, and I felt like maybe they could have shouted that on, not shouted, but the Means story as far as like him being shot and pushing through, because like he got rocked early in the third round, and then he starts pushing to the cage, down to the cage, and they're like, oh no, is he gonna recover? I'm like, this guy's been like hit in the face with a shovel, lost a lot of teeth, shot in the leg, still threw the guy through the window. Like, so he Means was gonna persevere, but I do wonder if that fighting smart, air quotes there, not coming at it, but you know what I'm saying, is a sign of even Means maybe feeling his age and durability going, which we already kind of saw going. But when a tough MF like Means acknowledges it himself, that could be a sign. Now he's not like OSP where the durability's going and he's like looking shot where he's not even freaking throwing. That's not Means. Clearly his eyes still work. He's still violent. So that's why I played him here. And thankfully Means cashed. The chalk cashed. I laid more because it was chalk, but at the same time I could have used some more of the dogs cashing. But hey man, I'll take the dirty bird coming through. Anatomicano defeated Jai Herbert again, and again this is, we're talking about the variants. Like Andre Fili, y'all should have cashed there if that was your parlay piece. Ione Barcelos, you should have cashed or at least gotten a push there if that was yours, right? And Renato Moicano would have been a parlay piece that would have cashed for you. He was in that range. So in hindsight, I should have had something on this. I just couldn't quite figure out the angle. I probably should have played the sub because I did tell you guys that it was the grappling. I gave the grappling citations for both their pasts and why we could see the weakness for Herbert creep up again, and the strength for Moicano despite the size parity and Herbert being the bigger man. Because they both were ideally going to be fighting more conservative, considering how their last fights went. Went straight on. So again, this is why I bring up the variance thing in the beginning. It's one of those cards where your analysis can be spot on, and your results may vary. That is the volatility of MMA betting in general. Not to use it as an excuse, but like I was telling other MMA bettors who have been having rough runs, because most of us all are, a lot of us, and if you aren't, props to you, don't get me wrong, fucking massive props, and I try to give people props as they do, but you'd also be lying if you said, what I'm saying, because there's so much, and I don't want to abuse that word, but this just seems like the perfect card for it. There's so much goddamn variance right now. Again, the pandemic isn't over, folks. We're still we're still feeling the chaos effects of not just the pandemic and the training situation and those issues of it, but what it forced the matchmaking machine that was already a snake eating its own tail, couldn't keep up with itself pre-pandemic, and kind of 10x that with all these crazy matchmakings, and it's just making the volatility and not knowing who's coming up for a paycheck, they're injured. Et cetera, who's trying to fight out their contracts right now, they're trying to get the fuck out. There's just so much volatility, and that's why I haven't been going super big for myself. I haven't been telling my hardcore bettors who follow me big things, but when I do play things, I tell you guys, and I have been better about trying to get these podcasts, especially the ones with more plays, out early, So, for whatever that's worth, I know it's not worth much considering my record of recent. But there is a ridiculous amount, even if the analysis is right. Like the next one, the analysis was right as well, but the result wasn't, right? Kennedy Nchukwu defeated Danilo Marquez via TKO. I feel good for Nchukwu, and even though it sucks to have lost this bet, that I went kind of double because I did a money line and then I added Marquez by sub when that came out, which was represented in the numbers, and I did tell you guys that was my intention on the podcast. But I feel sucky that it was a losing bet. But again, I don't know how much I could beat myself up. I told you guys that he's not the best athlete, but he knows what he needs to do. He's got that Damian Maia style, Damian Maia and Kings, and what was on the broadcasts. Who do you walk out with? Damian Maia. I told you guys that. I told you southpaws to train with, which is why until he got tired, and when he wasn't tired, he didn't look lost on the feet. He could still, he was defending a lot of those flurries actually, even in the second round. Like a lot of that stuff didn't hit. It just he gassed out. But the single legs that were there repeatedly, small grapple inside the cage. Problem is the opportunities he was taking. It was great. It was it was the path of least resistance to the back, but it was a standing back, right? And because he could not finish the standing back position, it becomes a point of diminishing returns where you're wearing yourself out. And if he could have survived that third round, perhaps he could have got the decision and at least save that part of the money line. But he tried so hard for the finish, which is what you want him to do. But the positions that he tried from were diminishing returns. They're fairly defendable. And yeah, he wasn't able to break him down and get the weight draped on him, so it wasn't making him work as hard. And Nchukwu is very durable, and we've seen that. That is one of his biggest attributes. So, man, props to people on the Kennedy round 3 for the other end of it. But it went exactly how it did. It just, the guy didn't get the finish. So, can't ask for much more. The analysis was there, just the result. It doesn't always come with the analysis, even when the analysis plays out. That's how crazy the sport is. Shavkat Rakhmonov. Maybe I should have been more confident in him. I feel like I was more confident earlier in the week, listening to other people taking the shot on Perseris for value, which, the dreaded V word. Shouts to Joey Odessa, but I didn't blame people. Michel, I finally tweeted the dodgeball thing. He does make things, difficult with his style and frame. So, but, Shavkat Rakhmonov really made some really impressive decisions. He threatened with the front headlock, but didn't sell out. You could tell Michel, like a veteran, was hoping he would. And I really liked the decisions that Shavkat made. Real tight transitions and into that classic Khabib meta, allowing them to get up in the fence, becoming the first person to stop, submit Michel as a pro, I believe. So that was really impressive. So Shavkat's going to be, Rakhmonov is going to have big numbers attached to his name, but hopefully he'll get a step up just so we can see. So, all right, up next, as the intro cue is, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, knock Wally Alves out. Dan Tom should have stuck with his opinion, cause it's habitual clock checking and socking. Sorry, no, it wasn't even the case, actually. Wally Alves looked like he was gonna give him the vet lesson, keeping calm, in that first round, okay, tire yourself out, kid. I'm like, holy shit, are we seeing Wally Alves, the vet here? And kind of like my man, shout out to Fino from the Fight Site, was saying, he just kept throwing those not very well set up leg kicks at pocket range and was putting himself in striking distance even to a 5'9" welterweight and paid the price for it. Didn't take the warning signals that he got earlier in the fight. Got hit clean when he should, at the point where on paper he probably should have been turning the fight around. So yeah, shouts to somebody said I didn't give out official parlay, and I didn't say to go out and parlay Worley, but I did say I probably don't want to admit it because my Willie Alves is biased, but he's probably the best parlay piece in this card because Jeremiah was taking this short notice. Nope. I really should have just stuck with my gut as far as my opinion on Worley Alves. But, yeah, I think I ended up putting him with Barcelos for a Brazilian two-piece, and, nope. Would have been dead in the water either way. Marcin Prachnio defeated Ike Villanueva KO body kick. This is tough. Even this one, I want to say that because there's a lot of, you could use the variance thing on paper before this fight started, regardless of the result. It was one of those volatile ass heavyweight or light heavyweight fights. But I ain't mad, man. This feels like a clean. This feels like a clean L to me. I thought Ike could survive the storm. It looks like he was going to, but Prachnio, man, he has been better with his composure. He's been harder to finish, and he did a decent switch up to the southpaw liver kick. It takes out, like I tweeted, it takes out the toughest guy at the party. Ike's got a great chin. That's why I picked him. But no matter how good your chin is, the liver kick defeats all. Again, shout out to Tim Lane, kickboxing coach, former kickboxing champ. It just says, what's the number one kick? What's the most destructive kick? Everyone's like, head Krokop head kick, Barbosa Adam spin kick. Someone tries to be clever, nut shot. No, it's the trick. It's the liver kick. It's the liver kick. Or I'm sorry, the Giga kick, because, I guess he made it up there. Jesus Christ, Dan. All right, but yeah, so good on Pacquiao. I won't cry the variance on that one, but that's it was a pretty risky fight. I knew what I was putting my money in when you put your money into something like that. Julia Avila defeated Julie Jastoryenko. The only thing I was right on this is that it could play out closer than the line I expected, which was true, but I can't brag because I didn't have anything on this fight, man. I even tried on the analysis. I was going to try to be contrarian, stick up for the ladies over there because, give them some representation, and I had fucking nothing. Dude, I did I'm such a fucking hypocrite. One of the many things I got to get better at, folks. I got to get better at giving these ladies these due on that. I got to get better researching all these fights, to be fair. It's not like I'm not researching. I'm not researching most of these, with the last few weeks. And I've been upfront with you guys about that, not researching heavily. But I feel like I got to be better with the ladies. And I'm getting it's kind of embarrassing here. So, but good on Julia Avila. How can you not feel good for her? Yeah, that was some feel good stuff. So good on Avila, man. Raging Panda. Charles Rosa defeated Justin James, split decision. I got pulled away from the first round of this fight, but this was kind of similar like the Barcelos thing, where I felt like the harder counters and the harder shots was being landed by James, and you could have really argued him for 1 and 3. That 30-27 roast was ridiculous. How someone gives him the third round. Justin James, man, he bet his whole purse. We all know that, and he had Chris Lee and Adelaide Burr as the judges. For that alone, y'all should feel bad for the guy. He never had a chance at this one of the scorecards. Chris Lee and Adelaide fucking Bird. No, but yeah, man. It could have been 1 and 3. I'm not mad with the decision, although that scorecard does suck, and I feel for my guy. I lost a bet too, but it's fine because I actually ended up positive on that fight because, like I told you guys, to not listen to my bias, the real betting angle here was the over, which you could find at plus money at some places, and I think outside of my guy Dan Stupp, shouts to Dan, I didn't see anybody else on that, so or repping that angle, so gave you guys that winning angle here. So I know I'm biased on this fight, so I want to state that before I go into this next point, but it's just that. So I'm biased, but keep in mind, I'm not sour. I made money off this fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm fine. I'm not like the people up in Justin James's comment sections who are in his DMs going, "I bet on you, you fucking loser," and it's just the nerve on people. And I wonder how much of it is that. And I at first I want to say it's a decent fraction of people just upset because they bet on these fighters. But sadly, it's kind of it's kind of the culture of we enjoy seeing people doing worse than us, or how we perceive as worse, even though James is doing better than all y'all, most of y'all, I should say. Most of y'all who would hate on him, not you kind listeners who listen to the show. You guys actually have fucking hearts and consciousness. So even though I don't have a big, strong listenership or the followers like the I don't know, the Weasels or the Booker Beards of the world, whatever those guys do. Bless them, good on them. But I'm happy that I got people I can actually talk fights with, and I can be a human being and express human being sentiments with, and and not worry about clapback. Although you do get that, and there was some of that with people telling on themselves, when I posted, because everybody was just shitting on him. It's just, I'm stretching here. Everybody was just shitting on him. It's just betting on yourself. You guys realize he's not the first fighter to have done something like that. Other fighters have bet on themselves before. This was just a little more publicized, right, in the UFC. And in theory, fighters are betting on themselves. And secondly, not just with their health and all these things, which are much more important than a paycheck, but they only get half their fucking pay. They're essentially having to gamble in their fucking contract. They're all gambling in there. And people also act like that money was going to, the money these fighters get, half a paycheck from one fight, especially fighters on James's level, that's going to make a dent in his life. Secondly, James is actually a gambler like you all. He's a real he stays up and he sharks people in the fucking poker rooms. like, yeah, he teaches classes, but, like, that's not enough to sustain fighters. They have to have sponsorship deal, all these other things. Like, this dude's he teaches classes, he he does, he's been able to support himself, let's just say, with playing poker. I don't want to say professional, I don't know how you classify it, but he's a real gambler. And the man hunts for his food, like, he supports himself. He understands the swings of gambling. The dude gambles with big money. So it was just felt like such, from the gambling side, it felt like such little dick energy and such hypocrisy for anybody to be criticizing him. It's like, wait, these guys, they bet on themselves. The money's not going to sustain them anyways. They bet more importantly, with more important stuff like their health. The betting is actually written into their contract with the way the pay is structured. And he decided to bet himself in something he can control. He's the one that's actually in there fucking fighting. So it's so hypocritical, because I would like to ask anybody that criticized or made a criticizing or snarky tweet to James, how many bad bets have you made? How many bad bets, because you've all made them. How many bad bets did you make that same night, right? How many bad bets did you make there? And by the way, people that criticize the fight IQ and the takedown, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fair. You know what I'm saying? So anybody who made tweets on that, that's all cool. I'm not trying to fucking scold or be, again, I'm not fucking police here. I stated my bias. I would be saying this if it was any fighter. And even with the takedown thing, which is perfectly fair to criticize, perfectly fair. But you know me, that even if there wasn't this bias, and again, I want off this fight. It's not sore grapes for me. Even if there wasn't this bias, I'm not the one to like go, did you see how stupid this fighter was? What a fucking idiot. Gosh. And like harp on it. Like I might mention it and then I'll move on. And I don't think that I do it too disrespectfully or anything like that either. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty fair about things. But like, and again, you're more than welcome to criticize that, but like, I'm not being hypocritical here, because I would have kept the same energy regardless of bets that cashed, that didn't cash, knowing Janes or not knowing Janes. It just seemed very hypocritical, because again, how many of those people actually, even if they didn't bet on Janes, right? But how many times have you bet on fighters that made stupid decisions? And it's just like, whether it's the betting on themselves like Janes did, or the having a guy hurt and going for a takedown like Janes did. And by the way, like a bunch of other fighters did on that card too. So let's be fair here. And again, totally fair to criticize Janes, but I feel like the more pressing, the more relevant question is, why are fighters continually doing this? They've done this since the Golden Age era. They do this throughout all organizations, from top, mid-tier, or perceived, bottom levels, all these levels. It happens multiple times, even on the most relevant, up-to-date cards that just happened on Saturday, folks, with not just Janes, not just fighters who, whether they bet their purse on themselves like Janes, which I get it, it's not normal. I get why it's getting attention. I'm not hating on that. Or fighters that just, do the normal bet on themselves and have the normal things running on the line, like rankings and their fucking livelihood. It doesn't matter. It's something is still ingrained for when you're punching these guys. You go for a takedown. And shouts to Connor and Iggy for a recent conversation they had on Tengradome on the Fight Site MMA podcast feed. But it's a very emotional thing, fighting, man. You're under duress, and it's so rare to have a fighter you can count on. And even those fighters that are perceived as smart were scared to death in there, like GSPs and so on. Fight IQ really is a rare thing. We can criticize the bad moments, and Janes definitely had a bad moment in there, right? I'm not saying don't criticize. I'm not saying the sky is not blue, folks. But what I am saying is that I don't understand why people would harp on it, because it's, if you really care about that question, then why aren't we mentioning the multiple other times it happened on cards that it actually costed some other people on this card, you could argue, certain things? It happens all the time. I don't know what it is. And if you want to point out that it's crazy that even a guy like Janes, who bet all that money and was going for it because he knew he had to, and props to him for going for it and leaving it all in there, tactically still made the questionable decision that we see many fighters make. That's crazy. And that is crazy. And that's very fair to say. Again, fair to credit, but it is just, I guess, what amazes me is as I circle the drain with all these kind of little factoids and questions and hypocrisies that I just saw pop up on my timeline from randoms to people I know and respect. People that I know are in the gambling game that even train and stuff. I just didn't understand this joy that we get. I think my man Sam tweeted something like MMA is like a game show where it's like poor people beg for money, but they also fight in between. And I kind of got, I don't want to say it's a joke because there's actually a lot of serious parallel in there, but I got the tweet and I replied to him like, and it's weird because like instead of game show audiences cheering for when people do well, like in MMA, from the media to the fans online, it's like we just attach onto the negative. We're just like, fuck you. It's like whether we're us as media, we're tweeting, posting the negative timelines or framing things in that kind of negative, questionable way because we know we'll get more clicks, or or from the quote air quote fan perspective of shitting on these guys and being up in the comments and replies, and it's probably the same people that like try to suck Elon Musk's dick, that are just like defending billionaires and multi-million-dollar companies, and not the fighters who don't have leverage and have the things stacked against them and are providing said entertainment that even brought them / us here in the first place. I don't get that. And I don't think it's me being biased. I don't think it's me being fucking Dan putting his moral high nose in the air. Like, dude, you hear the shit I say, like believe me, I have plenty of fucking hypocrisies that I'll readily admit, and I'm working on. Believe me, so I'm not trying to come at it from this angle, but it is amazing how fucking happy we are to see someone lose when we ourselves have lost betting on so many types of games, not just MMA. And when we do bet on MMA, we're betting on people with things we can't control. We're betting on the most volatile. You don't understand. If you lose an MMA bet, you deserve to. I deserve to too, by the way. It's because we're betting on such a volatile, stupid thing. We're betting on A, a volatile, stupid thing, B, a volatile, stupid thing that we have no control over. So a guy who's spent almost 2 decades, spent over 2 decades wrestling, and almost 2 decades wrestling at a high level and fighting in a cage, we're going to question that guy for trying to bet his measly underpaid paycheck. Not even his pay, half his measly underpaid paycheck. We're going to criticize that guy for betting it. And then when we lose, we're going to doubly criticize him. Like, that's how this works. That's how, like, it is gross. And, so, when I tweeted that, I don't know who needs to hear this, but fighters gamble with a lot more than their half of their fight purse every time they step in there. And most people got it, and some people told on themselves in the comments, which is always funny. I always love looking at those accounts and who follows who and where it's never surprising. The profiles are always entertaining. But yeah, man, it's that must be pretty low. Like, just to get, like, I don't know, man. Like, freaking. It blows me away how hard, even in the pandemic era, I know, maybe these guys wouldn't get chances, a lot of these fighters, but, like, still, how hard it is to get to these levels still. Like, just for your body to hold up, right? Like, it's an amazement in its own. And, but yeah, I know I'm rambling here. Boy, just, our MMA space really shows its true colors when people are down. Like, and it's funny, too, because, like, you look at the comments, like, even Justin and his coaches, like, they all posted, like, his coaches, by the way, gambled their purses too. Were they sour? No, they tweeted, they stuck by their guy, and they tagged Charles Rosa, giving him congrats. All class, all congratulatory to Rosa's team, still standing by their guy and proud of their guy. And the coaches, in their comments, people, what a fucking loser, he didn't win any rounds. And, like, it was just like, what the fuck? You guys are actually burning calories for this shit? It's hilarious. It's cool because these people tell on themselves. I feel bad for the fighters that have to get inundated for this stuff. Like, for me, it's like the same people that pop up on, YouTube or Twitter, and it's like the same person. You could tell it's like, oh, insecure dude about, whatever is saying comment. Like, it's easy for me, man. Like, it's real easy. I'm doing good. I'm kicking ass still, especially with that, fucking everything in my life going, like, dude, I'm good. I ain't got complaints. I'm fine. I feel bad I'd be lying if, like, dude, if I had my comments, the negative ones 10x or 100x, which is more accurate to these fighters get, I can't say that I'd be, no, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, that shit seeps in there, man. And, fuck, man. Just the stuff that, when you actually know these fighters, from the physical to all these other things they have to go through, it's just like, shit. I don't know, man. Again, criticize the fighters for their performances. That's all fair. But, like, kicking someone when they're down, I think there's a line there. And a lot of people showed themselves, man. Anyways, Damir Hadzevich defeated Yancey Medeiros. I was wrong on this one, too. But again, not clean fight. No bad scorecards or anything like that. But where the V word, I guess, comes into play is, we could have seen a similar Kennedy and Chukwudunel Marquez. It really almost happened right there with Yancey, almost finishing Hadzevich in the third round. That being said, the defense of Yancey is, it's never been great, but just, I don't know, man. The wars and stuff, I don't know. Without having anything back, I feel like it's going to be diminishing returns, and I hate to say that out loud, but I thought he had enough here, but I don't like seeing Yancey having to dig those fights out this late in his career like that. Whereas Hadzevich, this is the Hadzevich a lot of us were fans of from Cage Warriors. That made me a fan of why I was so high, and I don't know what's been up. I know it's been a lot of inconsistent performances. I think Marquez was his last fight at the beginning of the pandemic. But Hadzevich really showed up here, man. So again, I'll take the L there. It was what it was on that one, and I'm happy for Hadzevich. It's crazy. I think we went like 5-7-1, but it's like, Yancey gets that thing at the end. Feely doesn't get DQ'd. Danilo actually finishes. There's a lot of these things in there, we don't have Chris Lee Adelaide Bird on the Justin James Rosa card. Barcelos gets the win or a draw like it should have been, right? I mean, you look at these, and it could have been a completely different card, but I usually don't do that and try to go, what if. I'm usually not that guy, right? But this was definitely a card where it was just a great example of all the different things that can go down in MMA. And as well as how we react to them, I guess, right? So anyways, props to these fighters who are betting on themselves, man, because guess what, folks? Surprise, surprise, they're all these fighters are betting more than whatever Jane's bet on Saturday. I don't know why that's a surprise, why that's such a big deal, but I guess it is. And by the way, that's not criticism of the people. I mean, even my own media, I feel like we're making a big deal, sharing these articles, like framing it like, oh, look at this guy, he lost all he bet is, like, without sharing context and stuff. Not everybody, like I think Ben Folks, Ariel had great tweets out there, thoughtful ones. But just seeing everybody jump on the train is just like, eh. But I mean, why should I be surprised when the people that do the well are like the crazy ego inflated people who are just like, anyway, so I don't know. I guess that's just the way of things. I'm going to keep being real. I appreciate y'all. I want to ask this question. We're doing some behind-the-scenes voting for some mid-year awards, and I feel like this is fine to reveal. One of the, I just want to know if I'm crazy here. One of the options for fight of the mid-year was Carlos Diego Fajeda and Beneil Dariush, which was an awesome fight, and I loved it. I went back over the grappling exchanges a bunch with my jiu-jitsu coach, and great fight. But I felt like Gregor CDF was a better fight, not just because there was a finish. There was huge tide turns, narratives, important parts of their career. It was like the grappling version of Yuri and Reyes, and we don't really get those kind of fights. It's really it's easier to get from technical to rock'em sock'em Jung Garcia. It's easier to get to run the gamut of these fun striking momentum swings that tend to compromise fight of the years, fights of the mid-years, or fights of the nights, because they need momentum swings, and usually there's much more momentum swings in striking than there is grappling. So when you do get it, and you get it at a high level, and you get it in such an entertaining package, it is so rare. I actually, which was allowed in the voting criteria, I voted for that fight instead of CDF Beneil, but even ranked above the fights that have happened, maybe it's my grappling bias, but I actually put it as my number one. Am I crazy there, guys? Is CDF Gregor not as good of a fight? I mean, maybe ranking it as high as I did, that's definitely me and my bias. I don't expect a lot of people to agree on that, to be honest, but more just the CDF and CDF Beneil. And I'm not trying to, let up my colleagues or anything like that either, by the way. It's just one of those things of curiosity. Like, is it me? Am I crazy here? Like, that was an amazing fight, right? And CDF Beneil was too, and I love Beneil. But I felt like Gregor CDF was better. So let me know at DanTom MMA. And I wrote Lombard BKFC because I think I was going to record this podcast last night and it was getting late, and I saw that highlight of Lombard just two-piecing some dude who I don't know who it was, forgive me. And it terrified me because I remember that Hector Lombard has my number, and he texted me to see if I was awake one time at midnight. The scariest fucking text I've ever... It was like Stewie with Willem Dafoe under his bed. Hey, Stewie. Yes. You awake? Yes. Just checking. He just floats under the bed. That's what I felt like. Hey, Daniel. You awake? Oh, no. Yes. All right, so that was UFC Vegas 30. I'm going to be back this week. Check out the timeline at Dental MMA at the PYM podcast, especially if you want to submit your top 5 lists. Going to be doing with Chris Rainey on Tuesday, so I'll be tweeting out the list on Monday tomorrow. For top 5, what is it? We're going to do, I forget the wordage, but it's going to be career-changing battles, and then be doing top 5 tactical battles with Dan Albert on Saturday. So, all right, so I'll see you guys for those. Enjoy the fights. And I enjoy the fights, I guess. I don't know. Enjoy your time off. Jesus, just, go give your brothers, sisters, parents, furred ones, significant others, if you're lucky enough to have any of those, just give them big hugs, give them big love. Work on yourself like I am or anything like that. But, maybe just try not to kick people when they're down. Let's act like we've been there before. Let's yeah, I don't know. Try to. I'm preaching to the choir because y'all are good people if you're listening to this show, or maybe not because I'm not a good person. But whatever. We're trying at least. That's the point. We're trying. So let's keep trying, and let's not fit these negative stereotypes that tend to go with the MMA space, as true as they seem to be. Love you guys. Again, Amazon, on it, PayPal links at mixedmartialanalyst.com, YouTube, Daniel Tom MMA, Apple Podcast, 5-star ratings and reviews, at the PYM Podcast on all social platforms, at Dan Tom MMA. And until next time, protect your neck.